In this movie I'm going to look at the default settings for the plant tool, and these have changed in Vectorworks 2013, so it's worth having a look at them. There's a lot more flexibility in what you can do and set up your file prior to placing any plants in it. So when you open a new file, the first time that you use the plant tool, this dialog is going to open, and essentially it does two things. It allows you to look at the plants that you have defined either in your custom library file or the ones that appear by default in Vectorworks, and you can do that by choosing the one that you want to customize or look at and click Edit Definition, and here you can then set up all of the specific attributes of that plant. You can also duplicate an existing plant, so if you have a plant that is similar to one that you want to use, you can duplicate it, give it a different name, change a few little details, and do that from here as well. Now the other options here control all plants that get placed in the drawing. So when you do place, open a new drawing and you want to place some plants, or if you have opened a drawing and converted it from a previous version of Vectorworks, you'll still want to come into the plant settings dialog and set up the default settings. So the insertion option, if you would like your plants to be able to have a custom height and spread, then you can check these items, and I'll talk about these specifically because this has been a long requested wish in Vectorworks. If these are left unchecked, let's click OK and put this plant in the drawing, then the height and spread fields here are going to be the same for every plant, and they're going to be as they were defined in the plant definition. If, however, you would like to be able to vary the height and spread on a case-by-case basis for the same species of plant, then in the settings dialog here you would check custom spread and or custom height. You'll notice that custom spacing is already checked, as is on plant list. Now when I place a plant, not the one that's already there, but if I place a plant, you'll see that this now has these fields available, and I can change these on a case-by-case basis, so I can have the same plant multiple times and change the spread of this one and have it different to that one. It's the fact that massing is turned on that these were looking different. Okay, let's go back into this dialog again. So in the insertion options, when you choose the custom option, it makes these fields available here. Let's look at annotation, and here you can choose what kind of tick style, the tick size, whether the plant rotation is horizontal, random, or a long line. And we talked about the along line setting. That's useful for hedging and things like that, where you want the rectangular shaped plant to follow the line that you've drawn. Plant scale, this is again new for Vectorworks 2013, and yes, these can be fixed or random, 5, 10 or 15%. Now, as we go through this, I'm going to keep reminding you that these are the settings that apply to every plant that you place. So these are the default settings for the plant tool. Now, in the Render tab, you have the option of using the outline and massing from the plant definition, or to override the plant definition and choose that every plant that you place is going to have two outlines, and it's going to be mass planting is going to be turned on. Alternatively, you put it from the definition. Same with shadows. Either you can pull the shadows from the plant definition, you can choose to override that and have no shadows, or you can set a custom shadow and use that on every plant that's placed in the drawing. Notice there's a new option here, or there's a few new options. One is to use page units, which was always the option in previous versions. You can also use document units, which would mean that if you wanted a shadow under a plant to be 1 meter, then you would specify 1 meter, and that's how it would measure on your drawing. Page units is a non-scaled value. You also have the option of making it a factor of the plant height, so then the higher the plant, the longer the shadow will be. So again, you can use these from the plant definition, or you can override the plant definition and have every plant that you place have the settings here. Now for the tag, this is probably the most important one. Every plant that you place in the drawing is going to have these settings here. So you want to set this up exactly as you want the tags to appear. So if you want to have a shoulder line, for example, and I'm going to demonstrate this now. Let's click OK. I'll just get rid of those plants that were placed and put this plant on the drawing, and it's come in with the tag like that. Let's choose another one. It's come in with exactly the same settings for the tag. Now if I go back in here and I change these, let's change the approach angle to say 30 degrees and put a bubble just to make it different. Click OK. So now when I place any plant, they are now going to, this is now at 30 degrees and I've got the bubble there. If I choose a different plant, or even go back to one that I've already placed, it's now going to have those changed settings. So this is an important one to get right before you start placing your plants. Okay, so that's the tag settings. And then the schedule settings, again, you can have all of these the same. In other words, if you leave these all unchecked, it's going to pull them from the plant definition, or you can override what it says in the plant definition, and if every plant on the drawing was going to have the same size, schedule size, you could use that, or price, or comment, or so on, and so on. And when you click on the plant settings button here, all these settings in here are only going to pertain to this particular plant instance that you have selected on the drawing at the time. And you can also access the plant definition from here as well, just the same as you could access the plant definition from the settings dialog with the plant tool.